guys, name the tune.
I just can't wait till you rock me on.
Ready?
Walking on sunshine. I'm walking on sunshine.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Glad you could join us. So that tune was from our guest today, Carolyn Dickinson. She picked it. If you're a guest on the show, you get to pick your music. So, Carolyn, before we get into anything, why'd you pick the tune?
Well, Walking on Sunshine has been that song for me that if I ever had a character building day, or even when I was younger, it's, this is an old song. So
Yeah.
Now saying my age, it was the song that always could turn everything around for me, because how could you not smile when you're listening to Walking on Sunshine?
And it's just the name, Katrina and the Waves, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I love the whole name of the band.
Right? It's like, let's wave on the sunshine, baby.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us today, Carolyn. We're really excited because today we're talking about if your vision is big enough. And for most of us, usually isn't. So do a little intro, just say hi to the peeps, tell them what you do, and then we'll get right into it.
Hi, peeps. What can I say? What do I do? I help people create really, really big visions and turn that into such a big bullseye that they get up every morning feeling excited, hyped up, and ready to go and take it on. We create those plans. We create the strategy. We put everything together so you have what I call your Bible.
Right.
Your business to take you and hit the bullseye that you created and designed for yourself.
Cool.
And my motto is anything is possible when you have a powerful vision and a strategic plan in place.
Absolutely. And you've traveled and trained people all over the world in vision. So, just let's start before you start giving us a little strategies and stuff. What do you think is commonplace around the world? What do you think everyone, when you ask them, do you have a vision? What's usually, no matter where you are, what they usually tell you?
They always say yes. And I'm like, okay, we'll see.
Right. And then you say, tell me about it. And what do they say?
So I'll say, can you tell me about it? And often they have a vision that's this big, or maybe this big. But really, to drive your business, your life, your career, whatever it is that you're creating your vision for, it needs to be this big.
Right.
And so, yes, they have some things in mind. It's just not formed. It's not developed enough. It's not big enough. And so my job is to help pull it out, because most people, you have it all inside of you. My job is just to help you pull it out, because, you've been told many times, hey, you can't do that. Don't do that. You won't succeed. My job is to pull out all your dreams, put them out, help you lay them out, and really see what's possible for yourself, and then create the strategies to make it happen. And so when people tell me that they have a dream, I always laugh and say, okay, we'll see. Tell me about it.
Right. And so what happens if somebody says, I don't know?
Great. We have a great place to start then. If you don't know, or you don't have one, that's perfect, because now we have somewhere to start. And we start asking the right questions to make sure that we understand what you actually want to do, because that's where we start from, is asking those big questions.
So give me an example of one you might ask. Somebody says, I don't know. I don't really know. I'm not sure.
So one of the questions I first ask is, well, what do you love to do? What is it that drives you? So when you, if it was a career you had before, maybe you had a business before, what are the list of things that you absolutely love doing, like you could do in your sleep? And we start there, because that's what you can build from. Right.
And how about if somebody says, I thought I had a vision, but I'm not really sure. I think it's moving in the right direction, but I can't really tell.
Great. Tell me about it, because then that's my job to help say, okay, well, this is really good. We need to build up here. What were you thinking over here? And help form and develop all of it. Because regardless of where you're starting, as a coach, as someone who would be working with you, I still need to know it all. And any coach that's working with you should be asking, what is your vision for your business? Because that's where we have to start to understand how to support you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you really so you're asking questions. And so I might say, okay, well, I have a vision. I am a small business owner, and, I need X amount of dollars to pay the bills every month and make it through the day. So if I pay my rent and do everything else, I need to be basically bringing in $20,000 and then I can make everything work. Is that vision good enough?
No.
Okay.
Why? Big enough. Well, because really it's not big enough. That's basically saying, well, I'm surviving. And that's not really a vision. That's just, you know, going, it's like having, you may as well have a job.
Right.
You may as well go and have a job because, you know, it's like saying, well, I go in, this is my salary, I'm covered, I'm good. That's basically saying, hey, this is how I survive. If that's what you want, that's great. But if you're looking for a big vision, if you're looking to create something that creates a legacy, if you're looking to create something that really excites you, that you can pass on to your family, whatever it is that you have in your mind that you want to do with it, it has to be bigger. Because you got to think every day you're going to wake up to doing something. And if you're not happy with it, if it doesn't excite you, it's really hard to get up in the morning. And maybe some of you experience that. It's a real challenge to get up and be excited about something that's this big. Yeah. When it's this big, you know, I always use the example, and that's the quote behind me, is Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can build it. And he had a massive dream beyond anybody being able to see it. And he was actually told by his own brother, it's never going to happen. And his brother walked away from him. And boy, did he make a mistake on that. Right? So, you know, he created Disneyland and everybody told him, you can't do this. It's not possible. No one will fund you. No one will do this. But he did it anyway. So it has to be that exciting that really kind of just makes you drive every single morning to get up and have a fun day building your dream, your bullseye.
So so I'm the same person that's paying my rent and I'm talking to you and you're like, okay, you need this bigger dream. So I'm like, great. I have no idea where to start.
Great. So again, I would come back to the first question is, well, what do you love doing? Right. What is it that you want to do? What have you done in the past that really excites you? And I can always tell it's amazing. And this is why I love virtual, because I'll be chatting with them and they'll say something and all of a sudden they'll go, their whole face and body language changes, right? So I'm going to like, talk to me more about that one. Okay. So even if I was on the phone, I'm really good at listening to tone of voice. So I would hear a shift in their tone of voice. You can even hear when someone smiles. You know, it's amazing. We say that all the time, but it's true. When somebody smiles and says something, you can hear it. So I would always ask them to then expand on that. Right. So it's my job to start digging and digging and digging and really kind of pull out stuff that they've probably pushed aside, not thinking it was
like they've had it forever and then they actually forgot about it, right? Like how many times? So I always do say this with my clients. So how many times, you know, you go into your old files and you go, oh, I forgot I had that idea. I forgot I had that. Oh yeah.
Completely. And I actually do with my clients too sometimes, or anybody I'm working with, even friends, I've advised them to do this, is that create an idea book. You know, have that little journal that creates those ideas, because you know what, if we're working on one thing, we don't want to forget the ideas. We just can't work on 10 ideas all at the same time because they won't work. So if you've got focus on something, but other ideas are coming up, create that little booklet. I actually have one in my purse because, you know, I'll think about, oh, I got to talk to so-and-so, I got to talk to Faye about this. And I'll forget when it comes time to our conversation. So I will actually write it out in a notebook going, don't forget to, and write it out. Or I really want to add this on. Let's get a second opinion. So create that little idea book, because ideas are fantastic. We just can't do them all at one time. Right?
So you're talking to this girl and she's like, all of a sudden, you know, she's thinking about her small business and owns a yoga studio, because I used to. And she's like, you know what? I love the practice of yoga. I love I get excited when I can see people make that transition, when they come and they're scared. And then all of a sudden, after a couple months, they're, you know, doing everything and they're happy and they're coming to class, and that makes me happy. So what can I do with that?
Great. So the first thing, again, I will ask is, what are some of the things that you've thought about already?
Right.
So we make that list and then I will add to it. So for example, let's say, well, the first thing you said to me is they love seeing that shift in a person. They love teaching them. So to me, I said, have you ever the first thing I would say is, have you ever thought about teaching other people how to do yoga?
Right.
Because you can, if you want to create a course or certification, you can support them in understanding the moves and what it is to transition people through, and how to like do a beginner's class. And a lot of times people don't think about that. Or have you ever decided that you do bigger groups and offer your services to events, large events, because sometimes they have breakout sessions. Great way to promote yourself. Great way to get more, get people to see you and what you're doing and your expertise expertise.
Right.
So everything we want to recommend that you do is elevating your expertise in what you love doing, because that then opens more channels and opportunities for you to speak. If that's you're so inclined to. Some people don't ever want to speak. Okay, well, some people do. So let's build it up that way. Or is it creating an online course? Is it doing some stuff virtually? Like one of the examples that I did with some people that were doing exercise stuff is we said, let's take it virtual during COVID. So they created online programs. They created stuff that they can invite people to. So it's really digging and finding out the kinds of things you love to do, and then building them into your career or business so that you can do more of that elevates your expertise. And so people understand who you are and what you have to offer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess so take me a little bit through the process. So you ask the questions, right? And they got all excited, and then you're like, oh, have you ever thought about this? And they're like, no, I haven't really thought about it, but like, it seems like a lot of work. Can I make money on it? I don't want to take away from my old business. What can I do?
Okay. So the first thing we do anyways, is we make a big, long list of all the things. And I tell people, I don't want you to think about the how right now. We want to eliminate the how, because we can always subtract, add, take things off this list. But I always say, if expense, family, nothing was an issue for you, and you were to make a big dream list, what does that look like? So we always start with that. And then if they're saying, well, this is too hard, I said, well, we got to break it down. So you can't have something like say, okay, well, I'm going to start speaking on stages. It's not going to happen like that. So there's things that we have to do to get you there, but we need to know that it's part of your dream. So for example, what I tell people is, I want you to think 3 years down the road, and that's where we are. And what do you want to have accomplished? So now we've got to then take a step back and come back once we created the list and start building things monthly, annually. What is it we're going to do to get us there? So if you've never spoken on stage before, for example, and you want to speak, well, we got to build you up that way. We've got to create your talks. We've got to find out where you should be speaking. And all of that takes a bit of time. So it could be 6 months before you speak on a stage. It could be sooner. Depends how quickly you want it, right? And how fast you do the work. But what we're going to do is build strategies. We're going to build what you're going to do on a daily basis, weekly basis, and monthly basis to get to each one of those dreams or ideas in your vision. Then we're also going to break it down into smaller pieces every 90 days, because that allows you to review your vision. It also allows you to look at all the things that you need to accomplish. Did you accomplish them? Do you need to move them over? Do you need to get rid of them because it doesn't work anymore because something changed? And it's really about being able to see that things are going to constantly be evolving as well. So it's really important for you to constantly be looking at it, because we can also get stuck if something has changed for us, but we didn't make that change in our vision. Because sometimes subconsciously we start to think, well, that was my dream. I'm not doing what I was supposed to. Yeah, you still are, but things change, as we know. Right? Our economy, our world is constantly changing on a daily basis. So it's just staying connected and in tune with what you so desired. So when people think things are complicated and I show them how they can break them down into bite-sized pieces and build towards it, it definitely makes it much easier. And it's kind of like, okay, now I see how I can actually make this happen.
Right. So what do you think so, I mean, you've obviously trained thousands of people in this. What do you think is the biggest mistake or the biggest, thing that people do wrong when they're trying to move forward and do their vision?
Not listing everything they want and not following the plan that's created that they create.
Right. And what usually makes them veer off? Because I think a lot of people who are watching and stuff are like, yeah, I know vision's important. Yeah. And I agree, but I can't seem to stick with the plan because why? What's usually the problem?
Well, what happens is I find we go after the low-hanging fruit, what I call the sparklies, the things that distract us, and we end up getting derailed. So here's the thing is, when you have a vision, you have a path to go towards. Like, you have to think of it. And another example is, if you look at a bull and he sees the red cape, it's the only thing he goes for. And he's like so tunnel vision towards that red cape. You have to kind of think that way. And so what happens is people will come to you and say, hey, Faye, I have this great idea. And if you help me with it, I'm going to help build up your business. And that sounds exciting. Yay! I'm going to get to my goal faster. So the thing I tell people is, you got to ask yourself some questions. First of all, how much time is that going to take me to do? Second of all, when am I going to get that database of clients to be able to apply to my stuff. How long is that going to take? And I actually had a client that did that. And luckily we had set it up powerfully that he would come and talk to me before he said yes to anything.
Right.
So I said, great. How much time is that going to take you? He said, well, it's going to be a year before it's done. And I have to work for free. I said, no, you don't. And no, you're not. Then he said, well, I go, okay, when you're going to get this list? He goes, well, probably in a year or two when we build it up. I'm like, so you have to work for free for a year and a half to get this built up with no guarantees that you're going to get any money from or it's going to work. And no guarantees that you're going to get some list that you're going to be able to apply to your business when you could be working on your business for the next year and a half and actually make money on it. He goes, good point. He goes, it's a not now. Right. So it's really about assessing, is it really going to get me to my bullseye faster? Listen, the person that asked you, good for them because they see what you're doing. They want your help. Good for them. It's nothing bad. You just have to decide, is it going to work for me?
Right.
Right. And really identify clearly, is it going to get you to your bullseye faster? Right. If it's a no, then you say, thank you so much for the offer, but I can't do this right now.
Yeah. Well, so give me an example of one of your tougher challenges or one of your clients that you were a little bit worried they might not make it. And then they ended up going there. Like, how did that happen? You don't have to use their real names.
Due to confidentiality, I can't. But what has happened often is that, listen, we're so used to seeing things a certain way. Sometimes we fight back, right? We know that we need to do something, but we find other reasons why we can't. For whatever reason, our subconscious, your conscious, whatever comes up for you, we make excuses. So I had a client of mine that was working with me, and I do what I did with him, I do with everybody else. And at first he would do some things, but not everything. And we sat down at the end of 10 months and had a discussion. And I was getting worried because he had tons of potential. He had everything in place. He just needed to actually take some action. And the conversation finally opened up that he was holding back. And I said, well, listen, if you create a vision and you create a plan and you don't follow it, you know, it doesn't work. Right. I always tell people like this. I want you to think about it this way. Would you go try on a suit and put on one pants leg, one part of the jacket, you know, dress half yourself and look in the mirror and go, it fits, it works? No, you would try everything on, shoes, whatever, shirt, jewelry, and go, oh my God, this is the look. Well, you have to do the same thing with your vision and your plan. You have to play full out to see if it's actually going to work or fit. Right. And if you don't, then what happens is that you don't have the success you're looking for. I've had clients who have followed it to a T and actually reached their 3-year goal in 15 months. Right.
I think it really is. Depends on how motivated you, how enthusiastic you are. I mean, if you really can see it and visualize it, you're like, okay, I'm getting there in half the time. It becomes a little bit of a game, right? It's like, I'm going to get there because it's fun and I want to get there even faster because I know what it's going to feel like. And I think that's the difference for most people. I think people sometimes can see it, but what they have to understand is what it would feel like when you get there, because that's really what you want. You want that feeling of being able to accomplish it. So, and some people don't really spend that time to say, you know, well, what would it feel like when you're there? Is because maybe that's not really your goal, right?
Well, and I take people through that process actually. Because at the end of making our list, I want them to imagine. And I say, I want you to imagine yourself 3 years down the road. And you say to the most important person in your world, I did it. What did you actually do? Right. And I want you to feel like that, what that would feel like. Does that excite you? Because if it doesn't, we need to take it off the list. Right. If it does, or something else does, then we need to add it. And the thing is, sometimes people hold back. So what my job is to keep digging, because I'll usually can sense by body language that something is not right. And I'll be like, I'm not feeling this one. So talk to me more about that. And it's in there. Sometimes I just got to go down and pull it out. It's really far down. But it's being able to envision yourself 3 years down the road, saying to the best, you know, your favorite best friend, your husband, your daughter, whoever it is, I did it. I did it. I did it. Right. What is it you did? Yeah. They have to feel it. Because if you don't, you're right. 100%. It's so hard to be excited to get up and do it if something is missing or off.
And it's easy to quit, right?
It is.
It's really easy to quit when you just say, this isn't working. I mean, how many times have we done it in our daily lives? Yeah, this isn't working. Even when, you know, if you equate it to like, you know, trying a new software or trying something and you go, it's not really working. It's not for me. Because you never really gave it enough time to actually see if it was good for you or not.
100%.
But, you know, and that's, most people are like that, right?
They are. Unfortunately, it's like, I learned that, so I haven't been comfortable in about 10 years. So building a business is uncomfortable. And so you got to get used to being uncomfortable, because once you become comfortable, you become stagnant.
Yeah.
And so I made a game out of it. It's like, wait a minute, I'm comfortable. Something has to change. So I do the opposite now. And it's really about, what do I need to do next to build it forward? And it's having somebody you can talk to. Listen, if you don't want to hire a coach, that's fine. Create your little group of people around you, other entrepreneurs that are going to lift you up, though, not bring you down. You have to find the right group and build each other up.
Right.
Understand that, it's like when you feel like you're going to quit, call them up and get that little boost to say, no, it's not time to give up. How do we look at this differently? If you don't have a coach. And I have that group. Like, I have a coach, I have mentors, I have that group. We all need a support system around us, because we are entrepreneurs working on our own. It's not like working in an office where there's tons of people around you.
Right.
So you have to create your own. And I also help my clients do that as well, because it's really important for you. It's really important to have that support system in place, to really kind of, people that you can trust and talk to. It makes a big difference in the success that you have as well.
So let's just let's step back a little bit, because I'm going to say, okay, and I agree with you. Like, if you surround yourself, even like this group, I mean, it's great, because if you do have an idea and you want to ask a question, you want to get some feedback, you can ask us, or you can ask people in the group. You can post something and say, what do you think?
Yeah.
But there are people that are, shy. They don't have a lot of people around them. They can't afford a coach yet. So, and they know that they need to do some work. They need to get this up. And maybe if they did a little bit, they'd be eventually allowed to or be able to hire a coach. So what would you give somebody advice who's not ready to post, doesn't really want to talk to anybody, but they know that they need to do something?
Well, you can do some of this work on your own too. We talked about questions. So there's a couple questions you can be asking yourself. And so you sit down and write this question down. What do I want to create? That's your first question.
Right.
So I want you to go back and think about, if I'm sitting 3 years down the road and I said I did it, what did you do? What did you actually create? Are you, for example, you wrote a book maybe. By that point, you have become one of the best speakers in your industry. You have, if you're a coach, I've become, a coach that has an expertise in vision, for example, me, or you want to do something else. Maybe it's in marketing. What are the things you want to do? How do you want to share your expertise, your knowledge, the gifts that you've been given to other people? Because they are gifts. If you're really good at something, that's a gift. So I always joke and say, don't be greedy. You need to share. So how are you going to do that? How would you like to do that?
Right.
And then build upon that continuously. And then once you've done that, what are the things you need to do? The next question is, well, how do I make all this happen? So this was where the how comes in. So for example, if you're writing a book, you would start to list the things that you need to do on a weekly, daily, monthly basis to start building up to that book. We just don't sit down, and maybe some people do, but you can't just sit down and go, okay, I'm going to write a book, right? Yeah. You need to know what's going to be in the book. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to share? What parts do you think will create immense value for the reader, and who is the reader? And so a very wise person taught me to do something, was to go find articles and all the kinds of stuff that you want to talk about. Like sometimes we see an article and go, oh my God, that would be great for me to include in my book or on an online program. So print it off, make your notes on it, and keep it. And I also keep a file on my computer and keep doing that, build up. So let's say for the next 6 months, you start building up that data to be able to start writing your book. So now that we know that you want a book, we want to build it up to get the information to write the book. Right. And a lot of that data is going to come from you because you already know it. But what if it was a great quote or it was a great stat? You don't want to go look for it at the moment you're writing it. So you start to build towards those things. Right. And then at the end of the day, you're going to be looking at, okay, so I've got my list. I know how to break it down. I know how to set things up powerfully. I know that vision is important. Okay, so now what do I need to do every day? To start building that. And part of that could also be creating a schedule for yourself, right? Like, hey, here's the other thing. You got to make money. The book will come later, and it may not make you money, but it'll definitely market you and make some money. But now what do I got to do on a daily basis to start bringing in money to my business? And I'll use the example for a coach. So as a coach, once you understand who your target market is, which comes from doing your vision and your purpose, and it comes from the kinds of things that you want to do and provide value to people, who am I doing that for? Who needs that information? So we've now come up with a target market. So in that target market, who can I now offer what I have right now and start marketing that? So if you're already coaching, but you want to build it up, so you now know, here's what I want to create for people. Here's the value I have. You start marketing that to the right people.
Right.
You can't market to everybody. You can have more than one target market, but you can't have the same conversation with everybody. So for example, if I'm going to market to corporate versus the entrepreneurs that are just starting out, the conversation is completely different in what you would say and how you would say it. So it's really important to understand who your target markets are. And I would market to them one at a time. And that's how you really start to get things going and start building up that vision and building up that plan. So now you're planning it out. And what I tell people to do is that for accountability, to make sure you're doing what you said you wanted to do, is every 3 months, I want you to sit back and go, what money did I create? What other money do I need to create for the next month to keep paying my bills and get to my financial goal, which you would have put in your vision? Maybe you want to make $100,000 a year, 200,000, 300, whatever it is, wherever you're starting, 60,000. What is that I need to do now over the next 90 days to start building up that income? And so then you review it, you review your vision, and then basically you start to do it again and keep going. Are we still live? I lost Faye. I'm going to keep going just in case, because it's recording. So once you've done that and you build up, did we totally get lost, or was I still there?
You were talking, but I think I got lost.
Okay, so I'll continue then. So once you've done that, every 90 days, take a look at your vision. Are you still in alignment with it? Has anything changed over those 90 days that should shift in your vision? So maybe something you had strategically planned to do no longer fits because something changed. And it was
so what do you do then? What happens? Like, you're like, oh my God, I had this plan, because people don't like getting off their plans.
I know. So that's why we do the 90-day check-in, accountability, whatever you want to call it. It's every 90 days check-in with your vision. Because guess what? Your vision isn't something that you build and it's stagnant. It evolves with you. Because as we know, things can change in 30 days.
Yeah.
So if something changed, maybe a new opportunity came along that was in alignment with getting you where you needed to go. So all of a sudden you reached something that was in your vision faster than you anticipated. So you pulled it out and start shifting things around.
Yeah.
So, and then you start to build up the next 90 days. So what do I need to do next to then get to keep building towards my vision? What are the next steps I take?
Right.
So you can easily do this yourself if you want to. We're going to have a free downloadable for you.
Yeah, I forgot there. Yeah, there's a free PDF. So our producer, if you guys haven't noticed, isn't here. She had to do something. And I don't know if she loaded it. If not, I will make sure I load your PDF into the group. And so what happens with that? If I open this PDF, what am I going to read? And what is it going to get me to start moving on that path?
So the 3 questions we just talked about and the things we just talked about here, it's literally going to break it down a little bit more for you.
Cool.
And so it'll repeat some of the things I said and it'll get you started. And then if you're looking for more stuff, we have free webinars and things like that you can access to support you. But the PDF is a great start to get a feel for what it is you need to do so that you can do it yourself. And then there'll be other things you can access, like a free webinar that'll take you to the next level.
Okay. So it's like Monday and it's 12:30. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to commit. I've been watching you, Carolyn. And you know what? You said I can do this. And I know I have to ask. So what can I do today? What's my first step? Give me something that if I do today, it'll at least start me on the path.
Okay.
A little bitty step.
I want you to take a piece of paper.
Okay.
I want you to take a pen.
Okay.
And I want you to sit down and I want you to make a big list of all the things long-term that you would like to see created in your business.
Cool.
That's it. If you can make that
list,
just the list, because that gives you the biggest start ever to start building on your vision and everything you want to do. Make that list.
Awesome.
Right? And don't limit yourself.
Yeah.
I want you to imagine anything is possible because it is. But right now, if you can't see that, imagine it. Pretend. Just play full out, have fun with it. And then you can always take or add. That's the great thing about making a list. You have control of how it looks.
Awesome. So I don't know if we have any questions. I'm not so good on this because I'm not plugged into Facebook, but I'll give it a shot. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. But I know the question that I got in when I told somebody that you were coming on, and I said you were going to be talking about, is your vision big enough? She asked the question, what if your vision is probably too big?
That's a great question. Okay, so when people's vision are that big, and I do this with everybody anyway, what I want you to do is just look at 1 year at a time.
Got it.
What do you need to do first? Because a lot of times you try to plan out like 3 years. That's a lot because, as I said, a lot change. So take your first year. What do I need to do in the first year to start building up towards getting to the other bigger stuff?
Right.
So sometimes, for example, let's say you want to be a renowned world speaker.
Right.
Fantastic. That's down the road. Now, what are the steps you need to take today moving forward to get to there?
Right.
So if you're not speaking, you need to speak. If you're already speaking, where else can you speak? What other talks do you want to focus on? What is your expertise going to be? So for example, you know, if you're a yoga teacher and your big talk is going to be about health, well, then you need to start doing mini videos, doing your blogs. Everything needs to surround around the expertise you want to create, that you want to get to be on stage and be a world-renowned speaker. So we start building that up every day, every week, every month to get there, because then you'll start to see what's going to happen and can it happen and when is it going to happen. And maybe you planned it for 3 years. Maybe it's going to take 5 years. It doesn't matter, because then you'll just expand it. But as long as you're taking the steps to get you there,
right,
then it makes it a little bit easier to digest that big vision that you have.
Yeah.
Because nothing
Have
is.
Have you ever had somebody that you're like, oh crap, this one might be way too big?
Yes, I have. And so what I actually did is, it was their 3-year vision. And I said, well, you know what? I won't say that it's not possible.
Right.
What I will say that we might need to expand it a little time-wise,
right,
due to where you're at and what you're doing. So what if we make it a 5-year plan? And if we get there sooner, that's perfect.
Excellent.
Right? So it's really about kind of saying to them that, I don't like the word realistic, but we do need to manage what you're like. If you have a job or a business or a family,
right,
you need to manage all of those things into your schedule. You can't like be working 24/7, 7 days a week, as you and I know. That's only going to hurt you.
Yeah, you're going to burn out.
We've been there. We've been in that burnout. So you want to really schedule it so that you give yourself that extra time. And if you reach your goal faster, excellent.
Yeah. You know what, guys, I love when you carve time out and just say, you know what, I'm going to go backtrack and I'm going to pull out my stuff, because it does reinvigorate you and gets you really excited. And some things that what you realize sometimes is that you had some great stuff, but remember, you quit. Right? You quit too early. You just, as entrepreneurs in particular, if you're watching now, most people are like this. They're slowly going up the path to make it. And this is when entrepreneurs quit. Just when they're almost over the other side and they quit. Right? And because it's so hard, and don't like ever, misinterpret this or scare you, but it's so hard. But the truth is, when you can finally see it, you're almost there. That's when it's going to happen for you. So you've got to just, as much as it hurts, you got to just go over that path. So yeah, I mean, I was looking at stuff yesterday as I was up north and I had a few hours. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. I should do that. Oh, I forgot about that. And then you get really excited. It's like what we started with this when, we had a great group in this Facebook group a couple of years ago, and we did a bunch of challenges and everyone was doing so well. And then we all kind of got sidetracked because we had all these things to do. And then we were sort of, as we developed On Point Mentors, which is a company I launched, we also thought, oh, let's get back to that group, because training for free with nothing 100%. We're trying to get is fun.
Right. It is.
And so is looking for your vision, and so is trying to dream bigger and come up with some really great things. So, Carolyn has done some amazing work here and has shared a lot of information. She's got her PDF, and I think There's probably something on the PDF that says something about the masterclass, or if you don't know, you can go to her website. I think it's just CarolynDickinson.com. She's also an On Point mentor. So if you've been following us and you know about On Point, you can visit her at onpointmentors.com and see everything else she's up to. And you have any more questions? Because I'm trying to, Stacy's been telling me I have to keep this to the time frame that we were.
Can I share one quick story, like really quick?
Yeah.
So when Faye was talking about, when you get to that point, I share this one story, and I love the story because I got it, and I may not do it justice, but I got it in on Facebook one day. And I want you to imagine there was a guy, and actually I think this was a true story or story made up, but it was a guy who bought a piece of land and he was digging for oil, and he had got rid of all his money, he'd lost all his money trying to get there, and he gave it up and sold it. Okay, so the next guy that took it on hired someone to check to see where the oil was. It was 5 feet away from where the guy stopped.
Yep.
That guy became a billionaire.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. At the end of the day, it's really important not to give up, because sometimes we're that step away. And I know things can be frustrating, but don't give up and get the support system you need to keep driving you forward and say, no, you got this. You got to do this. Come on.
And it really is like he had a good idea, right? He had a good idea.
It was like, okay, I was told there was oil here. It's right there. 5 feet away. Had he dug one more time, he would have got his money back plus way more. So
and I'll tell you guys from personal experience, I know, like, I've run a lot of businesses, and there were some that struggled. And one of them in particular, I had to leave, not because I really wanted to, but, life circumstance. And I knew, like, looking back, I knew how I could have probably made it work if I had put everything together. But I didn't have the clarity of my mind to be able to say, okay, this is what the next step is. So you really owe it to yourself. Whether you want to change your life or you want to change your business, you owe it to yourself to give yourself a breather and sit down with yourself for a little bit of time and pull out Carolyn's PDF or just a piece of paper and pencil and or your phone for those of us who don't even have pens in the house and start writing
anymore
and making sure. So saying that, you guys go ahead. This is what I'm going to suggest. And I'm all about going and doing stuff. So download her PDF, fill it out as best you can, write down your questions, because Carolyn's going to join us on Friday for our Free for All Friday. So you can ask her questions about vision, or you can just ask her questions about anything, because there's no prep and she has no choice but to answer. And so
so be careful what you ask, because I will answer.
So guys, thanks again. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
And Stacy, I hope I did you proud and kept our stuff online. All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
We'll talk soon. Bye.